In a previous video I showed this hardware store grade sulfuric acid, and it is fairly concentrated, but it's very, very dirty looking. So I'm going to pour out a 50 milliliter sample of it into this 100 milliliter beaker, and as we can see, this sulfuric acid is a very, very dark brown, so dark it's almost black in color. Let's see if we can clean it up a little bit today and concentrate it. The first thing I'm going to do is warm this up gently in my heating mantle for a few minutes. Then I'll pick up the video when it's no longer chilled. Now that my acid is warmed, I have some 30% hydrogen peroxide here. I've put a little of it out of the bottle and into the cap so I can get it with the eyedropper and add it drop-wise to my warmed Plumber's sulfuric acid that's at about 150 Fahrenheit at this point. Let's zoom in on the beaker and begin adding the hydrogen peroxide. I've added about 15 drops. I'll stir with a glass rod, and there hasn't been much color change yet, so we will add more peroxide. Color's finally starting to fade a little bit to a deep red from the almost black color that this stuff was. Now the color's starting to go a lot lighter as I stir it. Color change should be noticeable on camera now. Add a little more peroxide. The color lightens. Now gone from black to an orange yellow. Little more peroxide, and we're now to a much lighter yellow color. I'll add a little more. with a lot of fizzing, this acid has now turned pretty much clear, just a slight tint to it. But what's happened at this point is because I added the hydrogen peroxide, I've reduced the concentration of my acid. I started with 50 milliliters of the dark Plumber's grade acid, and I now have about 56 milliliters or so of contents in my beaker. Because the 30% hydrogen peroxide is, of course, 70% water, I'm now going to have to concentrate my sulfuric acid back up to where it was. So what I'm going to do is take this and place it back in my heating mantle. Move the camera so we can see. And I will begin heating this up with a temperature probe in it. I've begun to heat the clarified sulfuric acid in my heating mantle. I've put some rock wool insulation around the top of the beaker to help contain heat. The digital thermometer showing at the bottom left is just about to hit 330 Fahrenheit. I have a lot farther to go. Sulfuric acid loves to hang on to any water in it. It has a great affinity for water, so it takes a very high temperature to remove the excess water from the acid. I'm going to have to heat this up a little over 625 Fahrenheit. I'm going to have to see on that thermometer before this is reconcentrated. Also, it can be seen from the beaker that white fumes are starting to evolve. It's therefore time to turn on ventilation. Okay, I've turned on my main ventilation. I will not have to worry about any of these fumes coming anywhere near me. All I have to do is wait for this stuff to concentrate. As it fumes and gases off, we can see that on this small sample the temperature does rise steadily. There we go, 400 Fahrenheit has been passed, on our way to 625 or so Fahrenheit. For 50 Fahrenheit. There, we've hit 500 and passed it. The white fumes are coming off a little more thickly, but my ventilation system is having absolutely no problem coping with this. If you don't have a powerful ventilation system, do this outside. You don't need these fumes coming anywhere near you. About 100 degrees to go, so it's proceeding quickly on this fairly small 50 milliliter batch. Because it's not fully concentrated when it comes from the store. I expect I'll wind up, when I remove this from the heating mandle, I'll probably have around 40 milliliters of finished product. Also, it will probably darken up a bit again from all of the heating I have to give it to concentrate it. "90 degrees left to go." Get a look at these white fumes a little bit here. That's what you've got to be ventilating away thoroughly and successfully if you want to do this. Perhaps outside would be a good idea. 550 degrees, we're getting there. "560 degrees, this acid will be starting to get pretty concentrated. Be interesting to see what color it's turned back to when it comes out. "575, just a little more to go." "590. Past 600 degrees now. Ventilation system still has these fumes totally under control, which is very important. "610. This stuff will be getting very, very strong at this point. "615. "620, just about done. "623, I've shut off the heat. Saw 625 there. Yeah, 625. heat's dropping quickly. I'm going to remove the beaker and sit it on a copper plate to help it to cool. There, and I can turn off my thermometer now. I'm no longer using it. And I've put a small round bottom flask containing cool water just to cap off the beaker. This batch seems to have turned back fairly dark. It's a deep red after the boil down. Perhaps I should have used another few milliliters of peroxide. I have done this before and have it come out in a lighter color. We'll let it cool down for a while, and then I'm going to test it by putting a little into that beaker that I just put there at the left, which contains sugar to about the 12 milliliter line. I'll pick up the video when this has cooled down some. Between the peroxide addition and then the boil down, I started with 50 milliliters of Plumber's sulfuric acid, and my remaining quantity in the beaker as it cools down is about 44-45 milliliters. This batch came out darker than the one I did yesterday. I probably should have used a bit more peroxide and stirred it for longer. Yesterday's batch came out a medium yellow rather than a deeper red like this one, but we'll test this for concentration by adding a little bit to the sugar here. And we got an immediate reaction with the sugar. For comparison purposes, the 50 milliliter beaker on the left contains a batch of the Plumber's acid that I clarified yesterday but didn't take a video of the process. I should have used a little more hydrogen peroxide, and I should have stirred for longer on today's batch, which is shown to the right. Obviously a much deeper red in color, although no longer a blackish brown. Although still a dark color, this acid is pretty concentrated now. I'll probably show this again sometime where I get it to turn out a little lighter color. But that's the idea anyway. Thanks for watching, and as always, there'll be plenty more to come.